on Chimney Lee. Oh. But I gotta stay in here because somebody might walk in, remember? Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Y'all can have a seat. Any member? There's all cell phones turned off. Good morning, Ms. Mark. Doing all right. It's the I'm doing all right. It's the old. That's the old. Thought it was that. We thought it was that. Okay, that's right. About to send it right now. Okay. Like, go down, make sure your cell phone is completely turned off. If you need to use your cell phone, you may step out of the court at any time. Make sure your cell phone off from there.
Yes.
The rest of y'all cell phones turned off. All the way off. Y'all need to use it. Y'all may step out of the court anytime. Y'all can have a seat just anywhere but the front row. Make sure your cell phone turned off. You need to use it. You may step out of the court anytime. You can have a seat anywhere but the front row.
Everybody else?
Another thing.
was the job? Presiding calendar, which position?
Six.
Okay, and then I'll be doing position 2 as well. One second.
Okay, so Jennifer has it.
I think both of them are attorneys.
Okay, you just.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. This position. No,
Make sure your cell phone's completely off. If y'all need to use your cell phones, you may step out of the court at any time.
Don't come in.
Six. No, my name's Elizabeth Jones. As spelled out.
Let's just slow it up.
Oh. Yeah, over here. Hey. No, it's not. Yeah, I wanted to.
Make sure your cell phones are all the way off. If y'all need to use your cell phones, you may step out of court at any time. You may also sit anywhere except the front row. The front row is for attorneys only. All cell phones need to be turned completely off. Do not let your cell phone go out in the courtroom.
Yeah, I see. Judge Bush. So, I'll have to talk to you.
Make sure your cell phone turned off. If you need to use it, you may step out the court.
But that was for Cleveland.
Looks like they're overturned off.
Sorry, what are you talking? No, I know, you're trying, yes. I didn't. So, I'll have a file. She does. Somebody else. She did have to go to school. Sorry. Yeah.
You like bond crazy?
Huh?
You like bond crazy?
Oh, my, yeah. How goes it?
You try to wait.
Ooh. No, it's Stevens, but I'm covering it today. It's not, I didn't file that motion. That wasn't a me thing. Gentlemen, thank you for being patient. We're just waiting for the end. Be out with a.
You know?
Make sure y'all cell phones turn completely off. If y'all need to use y'all cell phones, let me step out of court at any time.
You know,
make sure y'all cell phones turned all the way off. If y'all need to use it, y'all may step out of the court at any time. Y'all can have a seat anywhere but the front row. Make sure y'all cell phones turn all the way off. If you need to use your cell phone, you may step out of the court at any time. Do not let a cell phone go off in this courtroom.
Taking the shoe.
kids. With a handcuff. Kelsey Crawford. Y'all have him. Female, that's fine. One female. Yeah, yeah, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Ms. Crawford is your client? Your client? We need to speak to her right now? Okay, okay. We can start now. We can talk to the males.
We gotta be clean up.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody all right? My deputy gave you the rules, Deputy McGee, great deputy, he gave you the rules of the court, right? Okay. Yeah. Adam,
How you doing, sir?
what's going on, sir?
All rise. The Superior Court of Fording County 11th Judicial Circuit is now in session. The Honorable Judge Charles M. Eaton Jr. is presiding. Court will now come to order.
Please have a seat. How are you? Okay, well, this is obviously the presiding bond calendar. Let's go ahead and bring out Mr. Kenny. Yeah, the podium would be good. What is your name again?
Good morning, Judge. My name is Megan Eustace. I'm covering for Mr. Lang. I'm also positions 3 through 5.
Okay. I saw Mr. Abadi a minute ago. Did he? Oh, there he is. Oh, you're hiding from me down there. Okay.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Okay, this is 23 CP 221125. We have David Kinney in the courtroom joined by his attorney Megan Eustace, and we have Adam Abadi representing the district attorney's office. Go ahead, Miss Eustace.
Yes, Your Honor. My client's been in custody since August the 18th of this year. We are asking for a reasonable bond to be set. He's been living in the Riverdale, Georgia area for the past 7 years. He does have a good address there. He received his GED in 2017 and has been going to trucking school for about 1.5 years. He owns his own box truck company as well for the past year and works for 2 man in a truck. He does have 4 daughters, ages 4, 3, and then 2 2-year-olds. He does have ties to the community. At this time, we'd just be asking for a reasonable bond to be set on these charges.
Okay, Mr. Abadi.
Thank you, Judge. The state would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond for several reasons. We would submit to the court the defendant is a risk of flight. I would submit to the court that the defendant has very little ties to this community, that he's from out of state. He's actually, at the time of this homicide, was wanted for another homicide in Colorado, and he was on the run at that time from the detectives in Colorado when he committed this murder, when he was wanted for the murder in Colorado. He was actually apprehended while on the run through the collaboration of the Atlanta Police Department and the FBI, who were able to get a wire onto his phone, and they were able to track his location and actually tracked his location and can pinpoint his location at the murder scene at the time of the murder here in Atlanta. Your Honor, I also submit to the court that he's a threat or danger to the people in the community in it. As the defendant on this night in August of this year, August 18th to be specific, attempted to arm rob the victim, Mr. Jaden McKinnon, while he was walking his dog in his apartment complex. He was attempting to steal Mr. McKinnon's. He is a breeder of Frenchies, I guess is what they call them. They're going for a pretty large price these days. He attempted to steal the dog, and Mr. McKinnon wouldn't allow it and fought back. And that's when the defendant pulled a firearm and basically executed Mr. McKinnon and then fled the scene in his Charger, which was later stopped by the Atlanta Police Department because they were on the wire, Your Honor. I would submit to the court, he's a risk of committing felonies pending trial as he is wanted for murder out of Colorado, as well as a risk of intimidating witnesses, as there were several eyewitnesses who know both the defendant and the victim, as well as the witnesses who were in the vehicle that was used to flee the homicide location, Your Honor. So based upon all of that, I would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond at this time.
And what are the charges in Colorado?
Murder,
Murder?
yes.
So hypothetically, if I did give him bond, what does he just go to Colorado, or how would that?
Hypothetically,
No.
that's a possibility. We would obviously keep a hold on him because once he goes to Colorado, it may be hard to get him back for him to stand trial for
Okay.
these charges.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Eustace.
Yes, Your Honor. Obviously, we disagree with some of the facts as stated by Mr. Abadi, but we do understand that that's an issue for a later date and time. We would just ask for that reasonable bond, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to deny bond based on all four of the factors.
Thank you, Judge.
Go ahead and bring out Gil next.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'll speak into it.
Yeah, you can turn it a little further to you when you're standing, or
Yes, Judge.
Morning, Judge.
morning.
Alyssa Jones. I'm filling in for Jennifer Hansen.
Okay.
Judge, this is a rape case. Can I step out and see if someone from our sexual assault unit plans to grace us with their
Sure.
presence? Thank you, Judge.
Maybe we should hold off then on
Okay.
Gil. Well, let's see what
Now
Mr.
he's
Abadi.
gone, and he needs to do the next one anyway.
Stand by your attorney.
We're gonna have to wait a second on Mr. Gill. I mean, he can just stand there, but
Let's get going.
we're looking for who's gonna represent on the district attorney's office. All right.
Tell you what, Judge.
Want to bring him back in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll bring it back.
Well, we may ultimately
I'll see
skip
him.
over him because they may need somebody from the sexual assault unit to do this one.
Who's next?
I think why don't we just hold off for a second?
Sure.
I know y'all are trying to,
If we gonna do that, then I got one female. I got the last person, a female. Do I have time to go ahead and get her? That'd be it.
yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay. I'll do
Okay.
that.
You want me to step off while you do
No,
that?
definitely,
Okay.
No,
Okay.
definitely be in the courtroom.
Yeah, you can get the female.
Yeah, you can,
All right.
you can change that.
All right, thank you. So how does it work with the public defenders? You represent the unindicted, and then once they're indicted and assigned to a courtroom, and then they, is that,
Correct, yes.
okay. All right. Do you do the magistrate hearings as well, or?
I do, Your Honor,
Okay,
yes.
okay. All right. So you spend a lot of time down at the jail then,
I do.
or some, yeah. Okay. Let me get one more cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Just let a body know that he's got some time because they're bringing the female up.
Electric, so we only have.
But if we do the online, second line, Okay, great. So I can, I'll learn the fact right now. I called somebody, but nobody answered, so. Likely story.
You had a different one.
Bring out the big one.
You must run cold.
Court come to order, remain seated.
Are you going to do the next one?
Yeah, I'll figure it out, Judge. I can do it.
All right. So they had to go down and I told them to take the opportunity to bring up the one female defendant.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, I said it since we got a moment, I said it very, very quickly when I sat down, but for those of you present, this is the presiding judge bond calendar. So if you have somewhere else you need to be, then you're probably in the wrong courtroom. So Kathy, I saw the email on spheres. He's saying this is a jury request. Guess what I'm saying?
Why do that?
Pro se motions go.
I don't.
Said something
I
about
don't
November.
I don't ask them.
Staff attorney said that.
I wish.
Oh, it's scheduled for November.
Right.
Pretty good chance. So here's what I'd like to do. I'll hear the mental conference.
3:14, 19.
Yeah, I want it to be, obviously, it has some trial. readiness. I think it's- Go. Those old cases. The we can get her a copy.
Yeah, we got one for the.
So, okay, you got her up?
Yes.
All right, so we'll go ahead and do Gil then.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. You ready for Gil, Mr. Abadi? Okay, thanks. Okay, this is 23 CP 221359. Jeffon Gill, who's joined in the courtroom with his attorney,
Alyssa Jones.
Alyssa Jones. Thank you. I had it written down, but
My bad.
no, I'm kidding. And then we have Assistant District Attorney Adam Abadi, who's here in the courtroom as well. Go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Judge, Mr. Gill is 33 years old. If I say anything incorrect, just pinch me. He is from Ohio. That's where he lives, Euclid, Ohio. The address is on file in Odyssey, I believe. He lives there with his grandmother, who, I'm sorry, with his mother, who has breast cancer. And he provides financial support. He provides physical support. He's sort of her caretaker as well. Do you live with your mom? Or is it, do you also live with them?
Yeah, I live with them, with my
Okay.
2 children.
He also lives with his 2 children, same thing, provides financial support. He has 2 daughters, a 1-year-old and a 6-month-old. And the child's mother lives with you as well?
Yes.
Lives with child's mother. Excuse me, Judge, I've just got the file and I'm taking this.
And this is all up in Ohio.
Yes,
How does
sir.
he provide financial support?
He is a truck driver, I believe an over-the-road truck driver for Amazon. And I'm not sure if that's what you were in Atlanta for. He
Yes.
was in the middle of a job and that's how he ended up here.
So he's an interstate trucker
Yes,
for
sir.
Amazon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
He is, excuse me, he has a bachelor's degree in social work from the University at Buffalo. I'm going to have to defer to the state with respect to criminal history. I don't have one. And I can't get one because he is an out-of-stater. He has currently, Judge, no bond set, and we'd ask Your Honor to grant him a reasonable bond.
Okay, Mr. Abadi.
Thank you, Judge. We would respectfully request he deny defense counsel's motion for bond for several reasons. I'd submit to the court that he's a risk of flight. According to my reports and from the recitation from defense counsel, he has very few or if at any ties to this community. His ties seem to be in Ohio. He also has 2 failure to appears out of Ohio, one on May 22nd of 2014, and then again on August 13th, 2018, Your Honor. I'd submit to the court that he's a risk of committing felonies pending trial, as he does have a burglary conviction from also out of Ohio from April 21st of 2014, and then a possession with the intent to distribute narcotics that was actually reduced from a trafficking charge from March 14th of 2019 that the defendant is currently on probation for, Your Honor. I would submit to the court he's further a risk of intimidating witnesses, specifically the victim in this case, Ms. Rucker, where the defendant is alleged to have raped Ms. Rucker on September 2nd, on August 27th of this year at a gas station, Your Honor. The defendant and the victim had known each other for a short time, and they had gone to a club where they had to walk back to the vehicle. The victim actually fell asleep in the vehicle and woke up to the defendant penetrating her vagina with his penis. She immediately told him to stop. He refused and continued to penetrate her vagina until he finished. And as he finished, he pulled out and ejaculated all over Miss Rucker. She immediately attempted to call 911 and was able to call 911. But as 911 answered or picked up, the defendant snatched the phone from Miss Rucker and hung the phone up. Shortly thereafter, because of the connected 911 call, police began to circle the area. And as they did, the victim was able to honk the horn, which caught the attention of the Atlanta Police Department. And they were immediately able to begin to investigate. The detective noted that all over the legs of Ms. Rucker, they could actually see the defendant's semen running down her leg. She was incredibly distraught, and the defendant kept saying that she was very drunk and she shouldn't be driving. At that point, that's when the defendant was taken into custody. Based upon all of that, Your Honor, we would submit to the court that he's a risk of intimidating witnesses. Ms. Rucker was too scared to attend court today from speaking with the victim advocates. She's terrified of the defendant and respectfully requests that the court not at this time release the defendant on bond.
When were the failure to appears in Ohio?
May 22nd of 2014, and then August 24th of 2018. I apologize.
Or Ms. Jones?
Just ask that you grant my client a reasonable bond, Judge.
I mean, what's a reasonable bond in this situation? I mean, we've got of a defendant who's from Ohio. All of his ties are to Ohio. And he's also an interstate trucker. I mean,
I'm not the judge. I don't have to make those decisions. That's what the.
well,
people
no,
elect-
I'm asking for a suggestion. I mean, I get it that I'm the one that makes a decision, but all right.
I mean, he's an interstate trucker. He can truck right back here for court.
Or he could not come back because he's an interstate trucker.
All right, I'm gonna deny him bond based on risk of flight.
Next step.
Pitts.
Yes, Mr. Gill, you can talk to her later.
Take care.
First one was all. I generally cite the reason, so, or at least the factor. Okay, this is 23 CP 221521, Alan Pitts, who is joined by his attorney, Megan Eustace. They're present in the courtroom, and Mr. Adam Abadi is here with the district attorney's office. Go ahead, Ms. Eustace.
Yes, Your Honor. We are asking for a reasonable bond to be set at this time. Mr. Pitts is 28 years old and he does have a good address. This is the address in which the incident location took place. It was a shooting inside of his residence is the allegation. He is gainfully employed at BMI and does have one daughter. At his first appearance, his sister was present. He is a published author and she wanted me to share that with the court, where he is a community leader and helps out with raising funds for different people in the neighborhood. He is well liked and everything. I believe his sister was going to try to be here today. I'm not sure if she was able to make it. Due to his history or lack thereof at this point, all I have is 4 cycles, including this arrest, Your Honor. 1 misdemeanor conviction, which first offender was used, and my GCIC indicates that the other 2 arrests were dismissed. So he has no felony history, no open cases to my knowledge, no FTAs or violations of probation. So his likelihood to reoffend is low. We would be asking for an aggregate bond not to exceed $50,000 on this matter, Your Honor. He has ties to the community through his work and his daughter. He's not likely to intimidate witnesses, as this happened at his home. To my knowledge, nobody else was there. So we would be asking for an aggregate $50,000 bond, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Abadi.
Yes, Your Honor, I would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond. First, I would submit to the court, he's a risk of intimidating witnesses. There were actually 3 eyewitnesses inside of the apartment when the defendant actually executed the victim, Mr. Cordell Duncan, while he was sleeping on the couch. The witnesses would indicate that the defendant came out of his room, was acting strange or different, and he was nude. One of the roommates asked him to put on his clothes. He refused. He went and got a firearm and came into the living room and executed Mr. Duncan as he slept on the couch in front of all 3 of the other witnesses, Your Honor. He then fled from the apartment nude by jumping from the balcony and running through the city of Atlanta naked until he was found by the Atlanta Police Department and arrested that evening. He was put on a psych hold where the state would submit that he should remain at this time, so he can receive the treatment, whatever treatment that may be, so he can be competent to stand trial when the case is indicted and as it moves into that part of the process, Your Honor. As Ms. Eustace did indicate, he does have a limited history He did plead first offender to what was a possession of hydrocodone in a school zone that was reduced to a misdemeanor. And then out of Clayton County in 2019, he received PTI for financial transaction card theft. Your Honor, I would submit based on all of the evidence and the defendant's mental instability and his need for treatment, that the only appropriate place for the defendant to remain at this time is in the Fulton County Jail with the Sheriff's Department.
Ms. Eustace?
Yes, Your Honor, if any
Go ahead,
mental
Ms.
health.
One second, one second.
I'm sorry, there is a statement, a victim impact statement for the court when the court deems appropriate.
All right, well, we'll hear from the victim right now then.
And Miss Maya is gonna, our victim advocate is gonna read the impact statement.
Good morning, Your Honor. Victim Advocate Maya Wilburn, MAYA WILBURN. I'm reading the statement written by Sister Chartovia Duncan, CHARTOVIA DUNCAN.
This is the sister of the victim.
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right.
On September 2nd, my brother Julius Juju Duncan was killed. Alan does not deserve to receive bond ever. He is being accused of taking a life, and we want justice to be seen through. It is apparent Alan poses significant threat and danger to the community. He was known to my brother as a longtime friend. Julius trusted Alan with his life and was comfortable to stay at his house overnight. How can the community be safe with someone who is a suspect in such a heinous act, such as murder? The defendant is well known to my family, and we fear retribution against us. We know him to have a long history of drug use and carrying weapons. While our family mourns and grieves the life of Julius, we also want justice to be served for his family. Today, Judge, you have the opportunity to keep a dangerous man off the streets. It is the request of my family that bond not be granted for the defendant today, nor in the future. Thank you, Chartovia, Charles, and Cassandra Duncan.
Your Honor, at the time of his arrest, he did admit to, or he did make a spontaneous statement that he was high on mushrooms and that he wanted to kill himself and things of that nature, further indicating or showing his mental instability and his continued drug use is just described by the advocate. Nothing further.
Ms. Eustace?
Yes, if Your Honor is concerned about his mental health, then we would ask that you still issue a bond and give a requirement that he get a mental health evaluation within 30 to 45 days of his release, and then follow up with any recommended treatment by any mental health professional, Your Honor. That way, if it is truly a concern of the court and the state, then we can also continue getting him help outside of the jail.
All right, I'm going to deny bond based on all four of the factors. Next one's Hancock.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is 23 CP 221548. Leverett Hancock, who's joining the courtroom with his attorney, Megan Eustace, and we have Adam Abadi with the district attorney's office present as well. Go ahead, Ms. Eustace.
Yes, Your Honor. In front of you is Mr. Hancock. He is 40 years old. He's currently expecting his first child. He is an Air Force veteran. He was in from 1999 to 2005 and received a medical discharge. He is born and raised in Georgia and has mother, siblings, and lots of cousins in the Atlanta area. He also received his associate's degree in auto visionary. I believe this is a pretty heated case, I understand, but he does have a lot of support. I do have quite a lot of character letters, if Your Honor would like to see them, as well as if anybody is here for Mr. Hancock, if you could just raise your hand to show the court that you're here to show your support. He has community ties as well, Your Honor. We do have a good address. This incident occurred in the area where he used to live. However, we have a different address and I will file a change of address. He has no reason to return to that area, no reason to have any contact with any potential witnesses, and he knows that he is to have no contact with them. We're just asking for a reasonable bond to be issued at this time. I will note the calendar is incorrect. We did have a preliminary hearing yesterday. The charge of felony murder with the predicate aggravated assault was added, so we are looking at 4 charges today. So we would be asking for an aggregate bond not to exceed $75,000, Your Honor.
I guess, can you bring the letters up here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Mr. Abadi.
Thank you, Judge. The state would respectfully request deny defense counsel's motion for bond for several reasons. I would submit to the court that the defendant is a threat or danger to the people in the community. The defendant actually shot the victim, Mr. Lowe, in the face in the middle of a barbecue, to be perfectly frank with the court. The incident occurred because the defendant, who I guess now before Your Honor is claiming the child that is allegedly his on the way, but the dispute had occurred all because he was denying the child and in fact blaming the pregnancy on an 11-year-old cousin of the mother who is soon to give birth to someone's child. It sounds like the defendant's today. At the barbecue, the defendant continued to harass an 11-year-old, say that the 11-year-old is the one who impregnated the female that the defendant had been having sex with. At that time, during the harassment, the young child, the 11-year-old's father, Mr. Lowe, saw this occurring. So he went to go protect his 11-year-old. As he did, the argument became heated verbally, and the victim in this case did strike the defendant with his fist, but nothing more, nothing less. At that point, the defendant immediately pulled out a firearm and shot Mr. Lowe in the face. Mr. Lowe was unarmed, had absolutely no weapons. He was protecting his 11-year-old as all fathers would have done on that day, Your Honor. The defendant then fled the scene with the murder weapon. What he didn't know is that there were video surveillance cameras everywhere. As he was attempting to flee, he stopped, called his girlfriend, who was able to pick him up. Luckily, she was able to convince him to come back to the scene. But what he did do in the time in between was he hid or attempted to hide the murder weapon before he came back to the Norwood address. But that was caught on video surveillance, and the murder weapon was later found by the Atlanta Police Department. He was interviewed by Detective DeMeester shortly thereafter with the homicide unit. He was Mirandized and agreed to make a statement. And during that statement, he said he snapped or he reacted and just decided to shoot Mr. Lowe. Based upon all of that, Your Honor, I would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond, as he is a significant threat or danger to the people in the community, as he opened fired at a human being in the middle of a barbecue, making him not only a risk and the cause of death for Mr. Lowe, but a public safety concern for the community and the city of Atlanta, Your Honor. There is a victim impact statement. The fiance of Mr. Lowe, Ms. Wallace is present and would like to make a brief statement to the court.
What sort of record does Mr. Hancock have?
He, Your Honor, has one prior, it looks like aggravated assault from November 24th of 2015. That was actually pled down to a battery. It's under case number 15 SC 137148. It was before Judge Kimberly Esmond Adams, and I'm actually pretty familiar with this case. This was my case a number of years ago when the defendant was taking that plea. And because of his, at that time, lack of criminal history, he was given a chance to not have a felony record. But obviously he's blown that chance as he stands before Your Honor here today.
Okay, well, we can hear from the victim now.
Stay right there.
Well, is she gonna read it or?
Who's gonna read it?
You can read it from right here.
You can read it from right there. That's.
Speak very loud. Just say your name.
Whatever the deputies prefer from a security standpoint, so.
State your name, full name for the record.
My name's Shonda Wallace. I'm the fiance of Mr. Lowe. SHU.
Is it possible for her to, I have, usually they do it from the witness stand, but if you have security issue,
No, I have. You can come up to the witness stand.
yeah, okay, why don't you have her sit in the witness box to read her statement then? Okay. If you could speak into the microphone, thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name's Shonda Wallace. I'm the victim fiance. And I just want to say I feel like he'll flight risk. That he shouldn't be out. The children is terrified of him. The children are acting out. Like it's a lot going on. So I ask that none be denied.
Okay. Thank you for your statement.
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Eustace.
Yes, Your Honor, just to shed some light a little bit on what Mr. Abadi's indicated. Yesterday, Investigator Demeester did actually come to the preliminary hearing. He indicated that Mr. Hancock voluntarily went and spoke to officers on the scene, voluntarily told them where to find the firearm. So he has cooperated. It's not that he hid the firearm in an evasive manner. He led the detectives right to where it had been. He did agree to go in and speak with them. However, he did invoke his right to counsel early on. Further questioning did happen, and that's an issue to be brought up at a later point. His flight risk, again, his family, everybody is here in the state of Georgia. He would be living at an address away from this area where this happened. His family has taken all of his belongings already from there, so he has absolutely no reason to return to that area. So again, our request would be an aggregate bond not to exceed $75,000.
What does he currently do for a living?
He currently is unemployed on disability, Your Honor, because of his time in the military. He's on disability.
And where would he be staying?
He'd be staying at an address with his mother, just because there are a lot of heated feelings. I would like to not have to put that on the record, Your Honor, but can provide it, or if I may approach, I can show it to you as well.
All right, I'm going to give him an aggregate bond of $150,000. He's to have an ankle monitor, be on 24-hour house arrest. County will pay for the ankle monitor, with the exception of obviously meeting with his lawyer, medical. You say he's on disability, so he wouldn't have a job. As far as spiritual, that can get kind of squishy. If he does want a spiritual exception, it can't be just whenever and however. What?
Your Honor, his concern is not necessarily the religious. He's just asking for his appointments at the VA. Would that be encompassed under the medical if he
Yes.
has any? Of
Yeah,
those?
that would be under the medical. Also, no contact with the victim's family, victim's friends, any witnesses at the scene, no contact, direct or indirect. Mr. Abadi, can you think of any other special conditions to add to this?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'd put specifically in the bond order. I know sometimes it covers it, sometimes it doesn't, but the defendants have to have absolutely no weapons, firearms, knives, things of that nature.
Yes, I'm glad you reminded me of that. No firearms or weapons as well.
And Your Honor, is that also a stay away, I assume, from the incident location?
Yes, yes,
Would you like me to prepare that order?
yes. Could you please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Winston Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
I meant to say that in his presence, but I base it ultimately on his decision to return to the.
Stand by the train. Train faces the-
Okay, this is 23 CP 221560 Winston Muhammad, who's present in the courtroom with his attorney Megan Eustace. And we have Mr. Adam Abadi representing the district's attorney's office as well. Ms. Eustace, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. As you see, my client is 75 years old. To my knowledge, he has no history, lifetime history on his GCIC, but for this arrest. He is Grady baby, born and raised here. I would also like to note he has quite a lot of support, and I do also have character letters for him as well. If you are here for Mr. Muhammad, if you could please raise your hand. He has a lot of support. As you see, I've gotten numerous calls and emails from some of these people in the gallery, as well as others that cannot be here today. He is a community leader. He's a very spiritual man and goes and actually meets with quite a lot of other people around his age at a Starbucks location 5 days a week, where he shares stories and helps them. He's also a substitute teacher at Atlanta Public School System, where he has gone back as a second career. He does it part-time and helps out. Unfortunately, he has lost his wife a couple of months ago. He does have children who are here, and he recently has been diagnosed or is going through some more medical appointments to see if he has cancer. So he does have at his old age and significant medical history. I do have these character letters if I may approach as well, Your Honor.
Please do.
This is an incident in which the deceased is his niece, Your Honor. This happened at a home that he does own and the niece was living at. He does have an alternate address where he can live at, Your Honor. He also takes care of one of his children. He has 4 of them. One of his sons lives with him who has mental health issues. So we would be asking, due to his lack of history, his age, his medical history, we'd be asking for a reasonable bond to be set. He does have 4 charges, so we'd be asking for an aggregate not to exceed $75,000, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Abadi.
Yes, Judge. I understand that Mr. Winston is mature. He's older. He's in his 70s. So I understand that he's gone the last 75 years without committing a felony. But in his 75th year, he went pretty big. He walked into the house that his niece was renting, and they were in a dispute over an eviction matter, and he shot her in the face. Literally pulled out a gun and just shot his young niece in the face because she got mouthy, is what he told the police. Upon his arrest, he was Mirandized and fully confessed to the crime, and fully confessed that he shot her because she was talking back. He describes the fact that he pulls out a gun and then shoots her in the head because he didn't like what she was saying. And then he tells the officer he calmly then walked out of the apartment and planned to kill her niece's significant other, and was unable to do so because he ran and he didn't want to run after him. So he spared his life. So Your Honor, so I would respectfully request he deny defense counsel's motion for bond. He, due to the strength of the case, as well as that he is a threat or danger to the people in the community. He's obviously got some things going on in his life that has, it appears, has caused him to have some severe anger issues, and he's settling those anger issues and conflicts with a firearm, Your Honor. I get that he helps several people in the community, but on this day, he did the exact opposite and executed not just anyone, but his own niece, Your Honor, showing the callous nature of the crime, as well as the significant heinous kind of nature of all of the facts and all of the circumstances as it relates to Mr. Winston's case. Based upon all of that, Your Honor, we respectfully request, deny defense counsel's motion for bond.
I would like to note, Your Honor, that Mr. Muhammad actually, after all this went down, he turned himself in. He went to a police precinct. He gave the firearm. He actually did the right thing by going and voluntarily surrendering and speaking to officers. Again, due to his medical history as well as his age, the jail, we feel, is not a safe environment for him. He does need to follow up with medical appointments to decide if he does have prostate cancer, as well as a pacemaker, and he has high blood pressure. So we are really concerned, one, how long this case would take to indict, to potentially go to trial if that is the outcome of it, and how that how much of an impact that would have on his health and his well-being while at the jail, Your Honor. He does have his daughter here, has been very active. She, I believe, is going to make sure that he, stays where he needs to be and continues to go to his medical appointments. He's actually been missing medical appointments while in custody.
Where would he stay?
You're going to go back to your house. He would be staying at his home with his son, Your Honor. It is the address on his booking screen. It is not the address where this occurred.
And Your Honor, due to the strength of the case, I can have the case indicted in less than 30 days based on all the factual circumstances. If that's an issue or concern of counsel or the court, because of the straight confession from the defendant of executing his niece.
I'm going to agree to the same bond conditions as previous: $150,000 bond, ankle monitor, 24-hour house arrest, other than with the exceptions for medical meetings with his attorney or spiritual. He's not to have any weapons, specifically gun, not limited to, but including specifically guns in the house, to have no contact with the victim's family or any witnesses that are involved in this.
Your Honor, the victim's family is also his family because that was his niece. Is that still, can he at least with his children, as they are going to be helping him? It's a little difficult with that.
Who's going to be helping him?
I believe all of his children are going to be the main sources of support for him to get to his medical appointments and everything.
All right, he's still, I'll grant an exception for his children.
Okay.
But obviously, this was his niece, so no contact with the brothers or sisters or anybody else directly related to the niece, with the exception of his children.
Understood. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Abadi, to add to it? Any conditions?
Just that no weapons, no firearms, things of
All
that
right.
nature.
Okay. All right, you're excused.
Thank you.
The next one is Crawford, the last one.
Sure. You got the last one? Okay.
Yeah.
How are you?
Okay, this is 23 CP 221569 Kelsey Crawford, who's present in the courtroom with her attorney.
Officers, have a seat. You gotta see the jury box. And we'll get your presiding matter.
Yeah.
Have a seat in the jury box. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Judge.
That's all right. Joined by her attorney, Alyssa Jones, and we have Mr. Adam Abadi representing the district attorney's office. Go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Judge, Ms. Crawford is 30 years old. She is born and raised in Atlanta. She's got significant family ties. You'll be able to see quite a few of them in the courtroom today. They just raised their hands. And I've got some character letters to share with you as well, Judge. I showed them to Mr. Abadi.
Okay.
There you go. As I said, she's 30 years old, lifelong Atlanta resident. She lives here with her 3 children. 10-year-old Carter, he just turned 10 2 days ago. Kelsey missed his birthday, unfortunately. 2-year-old Rontavius Jr. and 1-year-old Dallas. Currently, her children are with her mother. Ms. Crawford? And you would live with mom if you were raised one time, right?
Yeah, they haven't taken my house.
Okay. She will either stay at the at the apartment that she has been living at. She's been living at the address that's on file, I believe, Judge. She's been living in that community for 7 years, has switched apartments a couple of different times. She will either live at that address unless she has been evicted for some reason, in which case she would go and live with her mother, Miss Tanya Crawford. But that is here in Atlanta. She graduated from Maynard Jackson High School in 2011. Since graduating, she worked at several different jobs, food service. She worked at Department of Driver Services for a year as a driver examiner, at the DOT as a 511 dispatcher. She did that for 2 years. That brings us to 2017, which is when she started school for phlebotomy. So she's a phlebotomist. She's a state certified phlebotomist. She got her certification in 2022, though she graduated in 2018 from Atlanta Tech, and has been working as a phlebotomist ever since. She worked at Emory for 3 years until just recently. And she had just gotten a job offer from Grady and Children's Hospital to continue her work in phlebotomy. The criminal history is she has 1 misdemeanor conviction, that's from 2012, for a theft by shoplifting. She successfully completed that probation a long time ago. She's not a risk to commit further felonies while released on bond. This was an instance where she knew the decedent, and she is willing to be subject to house arrest, ankle monitor, stayaways, whatever Your Honor feels is appropriate, so long as she can have a reasonable bond. She's currently in no bond status. We're asking for a reasonable bond, Judge.
Mr. Abadi?
Thank you, Judge. I would respectfully request you deny defense counsel's motion for bond as it pertains to Ms. Crawford for several reasons, but the main reason being that the defendant is an extreme threat or danger to the people in the community for her actions on September 3rd of this year when she opened fired in the middle of the day at a gas station. And to show how extreme of a danger she is to the community, I would just like to share my screen and show Your Honor. Ms. Robinson, you don't mind undisabling share screen, would you?
What happens?
She has share screen disabled.
Oh, you weren't talking.
Oh.
My bad.
Thank you.
No,
And Your Honor, that video shows the defendant, Ms. Crawford, literally hanging out of the truck that is being driven by her brother, Joshua Crawford, as she has an assault type rifle, what we commonly call as a chopper, and shooting it in the midday at the victim, striking her in the face, where she ultimately died from her injuries, Your Honor. That video represents the extreme callousness and danger that the defendant not only was to Ms. Anderson on that day, but we're lucky that there wasn't 10 dead people, as she fired several rounds from an assault rifle into the public here in the city of Atlanta, Your Honor. So I would respectfully request that at this time, based on all of the facts and circumstances, that Ms. Crawford not be released on bond and she remain in the custody of the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, Your Honor. There is one victim impact statement from Ms. Anderson's mother, Ms. Tracy Anderson. Ms. Wilburn has the written statement, and due to how painful this is, Ms. Anderson would like Ms. Wilburn to read the statement to the court when you deem appropriate, Your Honor.
Okay, we're ready for that. While she's getting situated, Mr. Abadi, how is the defendant apprehended again?
So there is a Georgia State Patrol trooper who is in the vicinity of the shooting. Actually, the shooting is caught on not only the video surveillance from the gas station off of Whitehall, but actually caught on his dash cam. And at the minute that he hears the shots fired and sees Ms. Crawford shooting outside of her vehicle and then flee in the truck, they immediately follow her. The truck that's being driven by her brother, Joshua Crawford, is fleeing and it's going down. It ends up getting on I-20. And at that point, the Georgia State Troopers, because they have authority, they're able to do what's called a pit maneuver. And they're able to do a pit maneuver and get the vehicle to come to a stop finally, as they fled down I-20, further endangering more citizens of this county and this city after they heinously killed Ms. Anderson.
Now I see two murder charges on here. Is that the brother or is it?
It's a murder and it's a felony murder, Your Honor. There's two murder counts. Malice murder, I think the calendar is incorrect.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead with the victim impact statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. The author of the letter is Tracy Anderson, Traice, Anderson, common spelling. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Tracy Anderson. I'm the mother of Alexis Anderson. I'm filled with several emotions, especially being that we are here for a bond hearing. I'm sad, hurt, and moreover afraid. I'm afraid for my life, my husband's life, my grandson's life, and my family's life. I'm requesting that no bond be granted for the defendant. The defendant is being accused of aggressively and violently shooting my daughter in the face. Now my 8-year-old grandson has to grow up motherless and empty. A person that can easily commit such a crime should not be allowed to freely walk on this earth. Definitely poses a threat to society. I beg of you to please deny bond. Thank you.
Your Honor, upon the defendant's arrest, she was Mirandized and did make a full statement and confession to the detective, confessing that The reason she shot Miss Anderson was payback or revenge. They had been in a dispute from earlier in the day or the day before. And she wanted revenge and she wanted to retaliate. And this is how she saw fit to provide payback, Your Honor. Further strengthening or showing the strength of this case, making it so that the defendant is an extreme flight risk if released on bond, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Jones?
Just, Your Honor, under the Ayala factors, I think she is entitled to a bond, and I'd ask that you set a reasonable bond.
I'm going to deny bond based of risk of flight.
She's lived here her whole life. She was born here. She's got several family members here. Have you ever even left the state of Georgia? For like a vacation or something? She's only left the state of Georgia for vacation.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but she was apprehended while fleeing the scene. I mean,
What I heard was that it was within minutes of the shooting.
well, I've made my decision.
Those are the last thing, Judge.
Okay. All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, that completes my business. May I be excused?
You're excused.
I'll apologize in advance. I'm sure you're gonna get a lot of pen orders this week.
Oh, really?
All the fugitive detectives are gonna be coming in the next couple of days.